It's Victory Monday for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But for this season to go the way they want it to go, it's going to have to be all hands on deck for the rest of the year.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's the real deal, man. It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is the #1 sports podcast network. We're glad to have you here with us on Locked On Jaguars. Make sure you tap in wherever you get your podcast, man, so you don't miss an episode, whether you watch or listen. You want to make sure you tap in so you don't miss one like the one you're listening to or watching today that is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. And shout out to those everydayers who join us each and every day here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, here's what we're going to do, man. We're going to go over some stuff today. Victory Monday for fans. We'll hit that in segment number 3 at the end of the show to send you off into a celebratory mood that will continue some of the celebration I know all of y'all are doing right now. The Jags are a confident bunch. Where did they get that confidence from? We'll talk about that. But at first, all hands on deck / Brian Thomas Jr. I know it's like, oh, come on, Wig. Pun was intended when I talk about Brian Thomas Jr. and his hands, but that's not necessarily what I mean. I actually mean he's a part of it. He's back. Brian Thomas Jr. had a big game yesterday and looked like that dude that we all thought that he was coming into this season. So, yeah, the thing for me, man, is it's good to see him back. But then the second he was back, I didn't want to just celebrate the fact that he was playing the way he was playing yesterday in conjunction with Jacoby Myers and Tim Patrick, even without Parker Washington. And then ETN had the game. And then Trevor probably had the most complete professional game I've seen from him in a long time. The offensive line played well. The defense was flying around. But when I saw him and I saw Eric Murray and I saw Trayvon, it really made me understand that the only one we're not going to get back is Travis Hunter. And that still kind of hits me a certain way. But it also made me think, okay, how did we maintain this? How did we keep everyone engaged? How was next man up a big deal? How did we get from the point where Brian Thomas Jr. was dropping passes that we expected him to catch until all of a sudden now he's catching passes that we expect him to drop, and everything came together at one time? And that goes with the leadership. That's Liam Cohen. And I told y'all, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying it because it's true, and I'm saying it as a kind of a reminder for when if you ever go through something like this football-wise in the future or wherever. I told y'all that man wasn't soft, didn't I? I told you get tricked by him and James Gladstone if you want to, and thinking that this was some happy camp because of the way that they speak, the way that they conduct themselves, and Tony Baselli being a friend of the show, and could he translate the way that he played with tenacity onto the organization, and people were worried. I wasn't worried about Big Bo at all. After years and years of conversations with him, I knew what he was cut from, and I knew what he was about. I ain't going to sit here and say I was out here advocating for him, because I wasn't. But I was never concerned about him being smart and him having the wherewithal to have a big picture idea of what this thing was supposed to look like. Not even with James Gladstone. You don't get to where he's gotten to without having tenacity. But with Liam Cohen, man, it's something else. And then it didn't help my case with that whole Duval thing and the way he said it at the very beginning. But I doubled down right after that. I say, okay, y'all keep thinking this is nice guy university if you want to. It doesn't mean he has to walk around with fire and brimstone and a raspy voice and talking like a cab driver from New York City. Yeah, I'm throwing shade. It doesn't mean you have to curse people out and be like Captain Ahab and walk around angry all the time and like General Patton. And I'm not throwing shade when I say that, but I'm just saying a lot of coaches come from that ilk, right? And that works for a lot of people. There are a lot of coaches like that. Mike Vrabel's that way and a few other ones, and it works for them. But my point was, is not, you don't have to pick and choose. Liam Cohen works his way too. Being honest, being transparent, being sure, not only with the media and the fans, but if he's that way with us, I'm telling you, it resonates with players. And if you're around them, before I started making comments like this, I hadn't talked to Liam Cohen for one bit. Nope, not any more than anybody else. And even still to this day, I may have asked him 5 questions because, unlike some of our faithful and local media, my recording schedule doesn't allow me to always be where I'm supposed to be, well, where some people think I'm supposed to be, but allow me to be in the media room with Jacksonville. I have another national show that I do that usually I'm recording for our network right around the time the Jaguars are doing all of this stuff. But it doesn't take a whole bunch of interaction from me for you guys to know that I said this back when they first hired him. And I did have a couple of handshakes and quick engagement. I saw some driven people. And there were a lot of folks that wanted to know where the grown men were in the building. Oh, those are grown men. I know these days 40 seems young and doesn't seem experienced, but the dude's been coaching football or been around football since he was 4 years old. And he's had some pretty good leaders that he was around. And I'm just not one to judge people by superficial things. I want to know about the substance of what you're talking about. And now what we're seeing with this team, with the next man up philosophy, until that other man comes back. We saw somebody asked me yesterday, said, did Jacoby Myers save Trevor's career? And I'm like, we just live in this world where we can take something that is a part of the equation and we want to make that and illuminate that the solution for everything. And it wasn't like that. It was a whole bunch of things all lined up at one time. They were constantly working on Trevor Lawrence. They've been working on BT and his confidence since he's been out. They've been getting the young edge rushers some more playing time and developing those guys while Trayvon was banged up, before Trayvon was banged up. See, if you wait until something happens, then it's too late. Developing Parker Washington, even with anticipating that he wasn't going to be no more than the 4th receiver or the 5th receiver, if you consider Travis Hunter, or maybe the 4th receiver, Travis Hunter at the beginning of the year with Diami Brown and BT. And then Parker became almost your pseudo number 1 because of injuries and output, right? They cover the bases with everything. And I saw the way that they built this coaching staff, the way they taught, the way they talked about how they were going to teach, the way they implemented everything. And when they were talking so much about this, I kept saying to everyone, the transparency shows confidence and lack of fear and vulnerability that something they're going to say is going to bite them in the butt, because they believe that much in what they were doing. So they're going to need all hands on deck the rest of the way. I'm glad they're getting some bodies back. Of course, we know Travis won't be back till next year. The guy I keep calling that man Jordan Lewis. They got back Eric Murray. Got a couple of pieces on that offensive line. And now at the right time, because they kept their foot on the gas and went out and acquired Jacoby Myers and went out and got Tim Patrick, you're seeing those dudes catch touchdowns for this team. The development and the way that this team is built is going to continue to be fluid. That more than the fact that I'm just looking at what they have thinking, okay, yeah, we've arrived as an organization. I think we've arrived as an organization because they're never going to treat it like we've arrived. Just think, they acquired both Tim Patrick and Jacoby Myers since the season began, and they both had a tremendous impact on the game yesterday, a game where they took sole possession of the AFC South. So we're going to talk about why they're such a confident bunch and how a lot of what I just described is the reason why they're so confident. And we'll give Liam Cohen the credit for that. We'll talk about that and more here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps, no no things to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos, this is a great, great gift. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code Locked On at checkout. That's Aura, AURA frames.com, promo code Locked On. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, keeping it moving here on Locked On Jaguars. It is a Victory Monday edition. The Jaguars sit at 9-4. I didn't even mention the record because I mentioned it so much yesterday on the post-game show and our squad show with Mia O'Brien and Marquise Ogden. I just let it slip my mind. But by now, y'all know the Jags are 9-4 and in sole possession of first place in the AFC South. One game ahead of both the Tennessee Titans and not ain't that funny? Psych. One game ahead of both the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. The Texans on the upswing, not so much for the Colts. The Jaguars have to continue, though, with the me versus me mantra. Speaking of which, I was just watching something before I started recording that Jarian Jones was talking about. Hey, man, look, yeah, we're playing well, but we still got other stuff. And I heard Liam Cohen say yesterday that Trevor said all the opponents are the same. And I couldn't agree more. It's me versus me. And when you realize that, that's when you can start understanding that why they're so confident. It's about self-belief. It's about we go and handle our business and take care of business. How can we be the team that's going to come out victorious, regardless of what it looks like? And I think the Jaguars are that way because that is the stuff that hasn't been instilled in them about Liam Cohen. When Liam Cohen said after the game yesterday that the Houston loss helped them, that doesn't mean that, okay, we tried to lose the game so we can get this help. No, they wanted to win that game just like they wanted to win all the other games that they were barely winning, right? The ones that they don't apologize for. But sometimes even after those wins, you would hear Liam Cohen say, we got a lot of stuff to clean up. Yeah, we're happy that we won and we'll take it because wins are hard to get, but we got to play cleaner. We got to do this and we got to do that. And week after week, you kept hearing them say it. And week after week, it seems like it would never happen. And then the fourth quarter happened against Houston and it happened. So now that they were able to get back on, they fell off the bike, they jumped back on and they won a couple of games since then in resounding fashion. Now it's like you can say that because it's like, you see what I told you? The reason why they're playing a lot cleaner, it has a lot to do with, one, they're getting a lot of people back, but two, the sting of that loss hurts. When you lose, it hurts. But when you lose and you gave everything you got, that's one thing. But when you lose and you kind of feel like it's on you, that's something that you can't deal with. And the way that you don't deal with it is you don't ever want to have to deal with it again. And therefore, the Jaguars are playing like they don't want to have to deal with it again. Not just losing, but losing in a way, in a fashion where you hustle backwards and you self-destruct it. Sometimes the greatest thing that can happen to you is, okay, my grandma used to say a hard head gonna make a you know what butt, soft you know what, because some things you got to learn for yourself. You keep doing it and you keep doing it. But the thing about it is the whole time the coach has been accountable. He said, we got to do better. It's on me. It's on me. And if those players have the reverence that I believe that they have for him, they'd be like, nah, man, this dude out there taking shrapnel for us. It ain't on him. It's on us. And that comes with respect. And the respect comes from transparent honesty and truth. We expect more out of you. You ain't always got to yell it. You're better than that. You don't play well, I got to find somebody who can do it. When James Gladstone said the reason they went out and got Jacoby Myers, we were having a problem with drops. His superpower is he catches everything. He dropped one yesterday, though. But the point is you get the point. It's all about accountability. Everybody has to look in the mirror. So when you look in the mirror for accountability, you know what else you look in the mirror for? You look in the mirror to find out who your real opponent is. Me versus me. And this is a theme that I have been on from day one. I'm telling you. The Jaguars actually play like ain't nobody going to feel sorry for you. Ain't nobody going to come save you. You better do it yourself. And by yourself, it's one self, but it's like 53 people all banded together. We got to figure this thing out. And now that they realize they can figure it out, I think they're going to start cleaning up the things that they do. It doesn't mean that you won't get bit. I always say the ball's going to beat you sometimes. But what will happen is the variance, how often those things show up. They start showing up less and less. The effects of those things, the negative things showing up, affect the game in a shorter and shorter and shorter period of time, because at some point they've developed the confidence that they need to all of a sudden just get back on that horse and start riding again. And that's the sign of a good team. Sign of a good team ain't that they'll never fail. It's like when they do, how quickly can you get it back and get back to your standard? And how quickly can you get back and turn things around? It seems like the Jaguars are on their way to doing a whole bunch of that. Not only turning each game around, each quarter around, but this entire season and franchise has seemed to turn around. And now they're sitting on very, very solid foundation, but they're doing it with this. They're doing it with, we ain't done yet. You're only scratching the surface. Now, they're not saying it, but it's what I feel. The same quiet confidence they have by not being all fire and brimstone, and by them being real calm and measured in the way that they speak to the team, is the same fire and brimstone they have where they don't give you bulletin board material, because they're not trying to sell something or convince people with a microphone. They're doing it with work ethic and real results. You got a problem? Here's how you fix it. You either do it that way. If you don't want to do it that way, we'll get somebody else to do it. It's just simple. And from day one, I told y'all, don't sleep on them and think that they aren't a bunch of tough guys because they don't walk around acting like tough guys. You're in good shape. I'll tell you why Victory Monday for the fans is so important to me and to that team. We've heard it referenced a few times. We'll talk about it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show sponsored and brought to you by Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull up the app and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. That's right, man. This is it. NFL Sundays, they're moving fast. You only got like 4 more to go during the regular season. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. Listen, with FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, the receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Y'all know, y'all watching the game and y'all go, uh-oh, here we go. Well, no, that's when you need to go on FanDuel and go live and make you some bread. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, we're moving and grooving here on Locked On Jaguars. It's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. Victory Monday for the fans. I mean, you have to be a monster to not realize why it's important for fans to feel good about their team winning. But it takes a native of Duval and a Duvalian for you to get and understand exactly how these people around here move. And that's why I love the fact that we're all local and we all kind of resonate with each other, even when we beef and fuss and argue. And I talked about the people yesterday trying to get their gotcha moments from me when it comes to Trevor, when I ain't your enemy. I'm not your enemy at all. I'm happy. Not just happy because the Jaguars fans have something to cheer about at the water cooler. I'm happy because the Jaguar fans, in my opinion, have something to look forward to each and every Sunday for a long time. I absolutely believe that what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing right now is totally sustainable. And it's totally sustainable because of the fluid nature of how they're going about it. Just think about it. They're winning right now with a bunch of players, and some players that you didn't think were that important to this team. In fact, a couple of them weren't even on here. I already mentioned Jacoby Myers is one of them, and Tim Patrick is another. They weren't even here. They weren't even here. Antonio Johnson was the dude that everybody thought was on his way out of here, was going to get cut eventually. Yeah. And now he's one of the up-and-coming young safeties on this team. We no longer need an extra pass rusher because we got two young guys, BJ Green and Danny Strigo, that fit that bill perfectly. There's just so much, and I think there's still work to be done on the offensive line, but at least there's a foundation of professionals, right? Where you know that there's some things that this team is going to be able to do for a long, long time. And then they got young players like Brenton Strange, who was throwing people across the first down marker yesterday on his own team. Did it twice. Once to Trevor, once to Travis Etienne. It's the only time a player can throw one of his own teammates around and nobody gets mad at him. Because without him, they wouldn't have had the results that they ended up having. So good for him. But it's just the willingness to do the little things, man, and the willingness of them in 1 year to come together from a chemistry standpoint. This is a magical coaching job. It's been a great team build so far, but they're not done yet. And see, that's why I'm so happy for Jaguars fans, because we've seen this before. 1997, 1999, what was it, like 2006 or something like that, 2008, and then 2017. Once again in 2021 or 22, where they made this little bit of a run, and then all of a sudden, it was 22, by the way. 21 was a disaster, but they've always been able to peek into the club, but not really go in there. The teams that win often and have these large, confident fan bases, not the ones that are always just like the Jaguar fan base has been confident, but that's just a Duval thing. They're always going to be confident. They'll be mad at a bad team. The Jaguar fans will be cheering for a team that's 4-13. And still, you can't walk up to them and tell them they ain't got no self-esteem. They'll just probably laugh at you. But now it's something different. Not wanting, not hoping, not wishing, but knowing that at the very, very least, you have a competently run organization. You have alignment where you're not trying to figure out who's responsible for what. Y'all miss those days, do you? When something happens, trying to figure out whose fault it was or who's responsible for what. You got everybody raising their hand when something goes wrong and says it's on me and it's on us. Sometimes you don't recognize the need and the importance for alignment until you actually see what it does. And then it makes you wonder, how were we ever rooting and cheering for anything other than this? Not to knock anybody in the past, but what this is just different philosophy and a different way of doing business. You could say that the other way is egotistical, but some people will say, no, that's accountable. That's people wanting you to know that they are ultimately responsible. But when you're that way, you have to take responsibility. And when you don't, it looks dysfunctional. So now everything looks functional because it's real. It's not fake. Ain't nobody putting on. Everybody down there is going to work every single day doing exactly what that's why I keep talking about transparency. Whatever they tell you is what it is. Ain't nobody lying to you. You ain't got to figure it out. You ain't got to read between the lines. Show me one instance when something was said or done by this particular group of people and this team. And then the other thing, see, like Brian Thomas Jr. in the past, he would have probably had cover by blaming a coach or blaming a scheme. Ain't none of that now. And he's probably not even cut like that. So I don't want nobody to think that. But what I'm telling you is this is what it looks like. And it's not just because they're 9-4. They're 9-4 because it exists. It is that alignment I'm talking about, that confidence, and all of that stuff. The underlying cause of that is, or the thing that it creates a confidence that, look, not only am I thinking about this year, yeah, I want them to get everything that's coming to them. And if that means going to the Bay Area and hosting the Lombardi Trophy, that's good. But there's a little part of me that's still going to feel like, oh, we ain't finished. The Rams aren't good every year, but you almost feel like when they come into a season, you kind of think, well, they got a shot. The Chiefs, they got a shot. This is where this organization appears to be headed, in my opinion. I just think that every single thing that could have gone wrong and derailed them, whether it be from Trayvon to Travis to Brian Thomas Jr., they had so many opportunities to quit, so many opportunities to say, you know what? Woe is me. Nobody expected us to win. They only won 4 games. That's all right. We get to 6 or 7. We'll be fine. But they didn't do that. They're pushing. They're for every little thing, whatever is out there that's supposed to belong to the Jaguars, they're going to get it. And then they're going to come take some stuff that doesn't belong to them too, including respect. Liam Cohen said it'll never come. It'll never come. Good. I hope it doesn't, because that creates a chip on the shoulder, an automatic chip on the shoulder of the players. That's the way we've operated around here forever in Jacksonville. Ain't nobody trying to respect us, always talking about the team is moving and acting like the fans were responsible for the product that was on the field. That's just not true. And I've always said we need a brand of football and an attitude that personifies the people of the city, and that's exactly what we have now. As chippy as they can still be, as nerve-wracking and as irritating as they can be, I love each and every one of them because that's who we are. And we accept it. And we don't care about nobody respecting us. Neither should that football team. Just go get everything that you're supposed to get and try to take some stuff that ain't assigned to you too, because that's going to build you up for next year and the year after that and the year after that. I'm just so glad. Well, the young kids, that word they love using, relevant. Sometimes they say relevant, but that's okay. I'm so glad the Jaguars are relevant for a reason of substance and not just clicks and temporary excitement. Ain't nothing temporary about Locked On Jaguars, nothing temporary about Locked On NFL. We are the #1 sports podcast network for an absolute reason. And the reason is because we are the truth. We bring it to you locally every day. Now, check this out. A lot of people have sent me pictures and screenshots of them being fans of the show. I know Locked On Jaguars made your Spotify rap. Prove it on social media. Secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we'll send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On NFL. And that's where you're going to see me, because I'm over there too, on Locked On NFL on the Barbershop every day at 2 o'clock. I don't take y'all for granted, man. It's Victory Monday here in Jacksonville, 9-4 atop the AFC South. Who'd have thunk it? We would have, because that's how we are. We're Jaguar fans. We'll see you tomorrow.